A subscriber asked me to do a video on the police hiring process, and I am going to do just that for you. Now, I have to give this beforehand. I am not speaking about a process that is the same exact step for every single agency all across the country. Absolutely not. What I am doing is I'm going to share my experience, how some other police departments do it that I have worked with or know of, and do the best I can to give you kind of a broad idea as to how it normally goes with agencies. All right, so right to it. First thing is this. You have to make this. My handwriting's back. You have to make a decision. Duh. Right, but here's the deal. Are you making a decision because you just need a job that pays the bills? Not a good decision to apply to be a police officer. Are you applying because it looks cool and you just want to try it out? Not a good idea to apply. Are you applying because you feel called to do it? That is someone who I would recommend applying to be a police officer. So make your decision. Then contact your agency or the sheriff's office that you want to work for. They might have this before you actually put in an actual application. PT stands for physical training. You actually might have to pass a test, a physical agility test, a physical strength test. That is actually very important that you pass it. However, look, I was in the Marines. I can tell you all the physical training I've gone through in policing is nothing like what I experienced in the Marines. If you're not in incredible shape, don't sweat it. However, I always recommend anyone who wants to be a police officer or those currently in law enforcement as police officers to stay in shape, because you never know when you might be in the fight for your life or you might have to really exert yourself in order to carry out the duties of the job. And you cannot just afford to be out of shape and not do the job. The public expects you to be at your optimal performance all the time, and they deserve it too. Plus, the officer to your left and right expect it and deserve it as well. Rant over. You take the physical test, and then if you pass the physical test, you go take a written test. And look, the written test is not a college course, but they do need to make sure that you can read and write and do basic math. You do advanced math if you become a traffic crash reconstructionist. So do not freak out about the math, and do not do this when you're taking the test. No overthinking allowed on the test. And if you become a police officer, congratulations ahead of time. No overthinking when you take the job as a police officer. Overthinking leads to analysis paralysis. If you ever heard about that phrase, do not overthink. Trust me on that. All right, so you make the decision, and then you contact your agency. And then if they have you do a physical fitness test or a written test, then you complete that. That's when it's time for the application process. Go to your city or county website, look up departments, and they'll explain the application process. The cities that I have worked for in the past, what you did was you filled out an initial application that went to the human resources department within that city, and then they would forward it to the actual department. But the initial application is not really that extensive. Then, if the department sees, hey, I'm kind of interested in this candidate, then you are contacted for an initial interview where you will meet with, say, the training sergeant or the hiring and standards person, whatever that assignment is called for that person. You will meet with them. You will be interviewed by them. And here is the number one word, the number one piece of advice I would give you for this interview and the rest of your career if you are to get in law enforcement is this. Honest. Be honest. If you have done something in the past that's illegal, then say it. If you are in a financial bind or in bankruptcy, then be honest about it. Honest. Be honest. After your initial interview, what happens, now once again I'm speaking off experience, what happens next, if they like you, they think you're qualified and can add value to the city or county where you will possibly be serving in, what's next is, what the heck is an oral board? Oral board is where some officers of either high rank or a lot of experience or on a recruiting team will interview you and find out about you and your background and your experience in life and what qualifies you more to work at that department or that sheriff's office. But also they could ask you scenario questions. I'll never forget one of the scenario questions I had in my oral board interview. Question was, Scott, You are at a hospital watching a person who has been involuntarily committed, and you cannot leave the hospital because they are not secured, and then you get a call that someone is being beaten with a baseball bat out in the parking lot. What do you do? Well, I said, well, that's easy. I go out there and assist the person who needs to be helped and stop the assault. Don't overthink it. Do not overthink. After the oral board, paperwork like crazy. There are so many different forms that you're going to have to fill out. Just know that if you make it past the initial interview, the oral board, what can happen is a lot of paperwork where they have to know everything about your past, and you have to have references, and they're going to call those references, and some agencies are going to do such an extensive background that they're going to go talk to your neighbors about you. And guess what? This is very necessary. And then what can happen is a physical and mental exam. You will be asked to do basic physical moves like squats, lunges, walking, balancing, stuff like that. And then the mental exam, you could very well take a test that is at least 500 questions long, where they will determine what kind of personality you have. And then you will see a psychologist after you take that test. The mental health exam, they will actually ask you questions and have you identify patterns to pick up on how you think. It's pretty in-depth. So after the physical and mental exam, you may receive, you like what I did with my hands? You may receive a conditional offer where they say, hey, congratulations, you've got the job, but yet you don't have the job. We're offering you this much to start, assuming that everything comes back legitimate, been cleared and approved. We're going to offer you the job. You sign your conditional offer and you say, yes, and that's an accomplishment. Here's what could happen. And this might actually happen before the conditional offer. Whoops. Polygraph, okay? See it? Yep. Lie detector test. And remember, be honest. If you have nothing to hide, then you really have nothing to be nervous about. If you have lied, if you have held back from information about your past, then you have every reason to be nervous, and this can pick up on that. So make a good decision as to why you want to be a police officer. Do you feel called to do it? Contact the agency. Be professional. Don't overthink on tests. Be in decent shape and be honest, and take the application process one step at a time. So that is the application and hiring process. However, if you do not already have your state certification, you have not gone through the police academy, the rookie school, or whatever it's called within the state you're working in, then you have to have that training. If a department or a sheriff's office hires you to go through it, that's great. They'll pay you, you're employed, you just go through it and pass it, and then get sworn in after you've passed it. If you don't get hired on by a department or a sheriff's office, you can still take the state mandated training. You just have to get sponsored. I'm speaking off personal knowledge of what I've seen other people do. And you can take the training and then apply. And that's a good resume builder if you were not hired by a department or a sheriff's office. That's a totally different video in and of itself, getting you prepared for the steps in the rookie school or police academy. If you want me to do a video on that, I'll be more than happy to do it, to tell you how to prepare your mind and your body how to get ready. I hope you liked this video. If you did, click the like button below. And if you have not, please subscribe to my channel. You can learn a ton about how to be a good cop and survive the job mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially. And one last thing, there's a link below to donate to bluehelp.org, but also in regards to this video and how to get ready for the hiring process, there's a link I found that goes to a webpage by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They will give you a generic breakdown of the requirements and the disqualifications for people who are applying to work at police departments. So take care, and may God bless.